It's Friday, and I'm back with the next in our Fanzine Friday series. Today we're taking a look at the Aerial Servant #1. Please stick around. I'm AZ Mountaineer. This is our channel, Old School Rules, where we celebrate the community of old school gamers and grognards who like classic RPGs, miniatures, magazines, and everything that goes with it. Each week on the Fanzine Friday series, I take a fanzine from my collection off the shelf for a closer look. And today, this is the Aerial Servant #1. Hope you enjoy the video. So today we're going to look at a new fanzine. This is called the Aerial Servant. I'd say it's sort of magazine size. It's more like the early issues of White Dwarf, where it's just a little bit longer than what we would have here in the US. But in any event, this is just regular paper, including the covers, just paper, 3-color printing on the front, and then staples here down the side. Let's take a look at that cover. 50 pence, and the art here of a dragon head doesn't have any attribution that I can see inside of the fanzine. This fanzine is the product of Simon Kirby and Matthew Hankins, and it's a little different than some of the ones we've looked at. There's a much more of an emphasis on postal games here, and that's very intentional because they're trying to encourage more people to learn about and get involved in playing postal games in addition to, games where they sit around the table together. And obviously, as noted down below, there's some coverage of Traveler that's probably more than what we see in some fanzines, certainly more than the Beholder, which is the one we've been looking at most recently. Here's our table of contents. We have an editorial, Merlin's Pantry, or new magic items, an article for Traveler, some news from TSR, sort of like what's coming out next, which is nice to try and put these in context. Spawn Pit, new monsters, Dragon Lords, which is a new player character class, Lair of the Sea Demon, which is the adventure, a story, which is literally fiction, brief encounters, so some little ideas for Metamorphosis Alpha, which it doesn't get a lot of attention very often, and then the postal section, quite a few pages here. This comes in at 32 pages all in, and so a number of pages here at the end are devoted to talking about postal games. As I mentioned, Simon and Matthew are the editors. They give credit to Dave Davies, Steve Cullis, Keir Watson, and Graham Askey. And Dave's name in particular I noticed because he made several contributions to the Beholder fanzine there in the UK. And also an article credit is given to Edward Bowen. Here's our editorial, right? In the first issue, they always sort of tell you what they're about. So welcome to the first issue of the Aerial Servant. Hope you'll read many more. This is going to be a bi-monthly fanzine. As they mention here, it's just basically looks like it's typed up on a typewriter. So no real typesetting or other, a lot of graphics in this first issue. You'll see they use an asterisk from the typewriter to create their headers or title pages. They say they aim for being 60% D&D. Probably no more than that for sure. There's quite a lot of other stuff in here. As they say, 6 to 12 pages for postal games. This one doesn't have any illustrations other than the cover art, but future issues will have both some interior color and some art inside. We'll see those as we go forward. Okay, so our first thing is new magic items. They call their section Merlin's Pantry. I like that name. It's very clever. Let's talk about these because these things are always fun. The dunce's cap is a pointed cap, right, that you put on your head. And if a magic user, anyone but a magic user puts it on, it's just a hat. Magic user puts it on, it's a cursed item. Fail saving throw, it will reduce your intelligence to 3. That's horrible. And that for whatever reason they make you say versus poison instead of magic, that doesn't seem right to me. And if you are reduced to 3 intelligence, a giant D appears. And isn't that funny? Now listen to this nonsense. You have to cast a wish, restoration, or remove curse to restore 1 point of intelligence. So if you had an 18 intelligence, you'd have to cast like 15 times. That's crazy. I wouldn't do that. Remove curse is enough. Because it's bad enough, right? I mean, imagine if that happens in the dungeon. Pretty bad. A cap that looks just the same is the thinking cap. And this one also, neither one of these radiate any magic, which also seems a little odd to me. When this one is put on, the magic user will gain 1d4 intelligence points, but only as long as the cap stays on. So I do like that. It's so it's a temporary boost, but it's a pretty good boost, right? You could get clear up into the 20s if you were a magic user. Next, we have the Chain of Strangulation. It's a chain, but if a evil person uses this 3-foot-long chain and uses it to attack, you can will it when you get a successful hit to then wrap around and cause some strangulation. 1 to 6 points the first round of strangulation, then 2d6, then 3d6, going up an extra d6 every round until the person is dead. Oddly, they say here they think strength bonuses apply, as do bonuses for rear attack. I'd certainly give you the to hit bonus for a rear attack, right? I don't think you get backstab damage with a chain, and I don't really understand how you get strength. That doesn't make any sense to me either. Maybe to hit, right, but not for damage. Not if it's strangulation damage. If you just wanted to crack somebody with it, they don't say how much it does if you just hit somebody in the head with it, but anyway, I'd probably modify that a little bit. Next, here's a really clever, interesting item called the Blade of Hades. This is a broadsword, and so it does 2d6 damage if it hits. It is +2 to hit. 1 dice of the hit damage that you roll gives regenerative hit points to the wielder, and the second one is absorbed by the sword, which is oddly, I guess, a night hag that's been sort of trapped or transformed somehow into this sword. When the sword has absorbed a total of 64 hit points of damage, the sword transforms into a night hag who will then attack your character. It says it'll ride your character. I don't know if that's supposed to be sexual or not, because it says it rides your character and then transforms back into a sword in the morning. After that, no more hit points can be restored, and the night hag returns every night until your character dies, and then they take you back to some plane of Hades. So that's, I like that kind of thing where it's a pretty good weapon in terms of giving you that healing ability, but it's also got a pretty serious downside, which of course you wouldn't necessarily know about when you just get started. Then we have the Assassin's Cloak. It's a black cloak. It'll fit any assassin of any height, from gnome to gnoll. It radiates no magic. I don't know why these things radiate no magic. Anyone else put it on, it basically just falls off. But the assassin can use it to polymorph him or herself to any size between gnome and gnoll, and to change facial expressions, etc., to give you some disguise ability, as well as a +20% to hiding in shadows or moving silently. So that's basically it. It's a pretty good item for a pretty limited type of character. The Illusionist's Dagger, you can use to, you hold your dagger, and the magic is its illusion. It'll change into a different type of weapon, and then if the opponent fails a saving throw versus magic, you do that type of damage. So you might change it into a sword, for example, and get to do more damage. Still not a great item, because an illusionist should never be wading into melee combat. And if you try to do it in the middle of the fight, then the save is automatically made, because they can see it. They see the change, I guess. Then there's a new spell called Brand. It's a 3rd level cleric or 4th level magic user spell. And you mark a creature. It says you have to be, if you're in dire straits as a caster, and other clerics or magic users can see this aura. Others can't, but clerics and magic users can see this and know that you've branded them. I don't know whether you're branding them for good or ill, but presumptively the cleric or magic user who sees it can tell whether you had good feelings towards this person and they should help them, or bad feelings towards this person and they should sort of mark them for punishment or death. So I think it's kind of a good idea. It's not sure where they were going with it, and they probably need to flesh out a little bit more some of those details. This is for Traveler. It is extended tables for use in your merchant service. So in Traveler, you sort of begin character creation by rolling up your character's backstory through a number of tables, and you gain certain experience and skills as years of your life pass during that process. So that's what this is about. Here's our TSR news, which I think is always a nice addition, and it's what helps us try to figure this out. This fanzine's from the 1980s, based on what they're talking about is coming out, but there's no date in here. I looked through all of them. I can't find anything that really pegs it, so I know, well, if it was coming out every other month, this one was November, and I can back into it. So other than the fact that at least 3 of these are in 1980, I don't have any other clarity on exactly when they come out. So what's coming out soon is a Gamble World adventure called Legions of Gold, and Expedition to the Barrier Peaks, as well as D&D and Demigods, and maybe the world of Greyhawk. And also, slightly delayed for reasons some of us may know, the Palace of the Silver Princess is supposed to be coming along at some point as well. The Spawn Pit. These are new monsters. A mixed bag here. The Goborg is a half-human creature. The other part of their body is made of different pieces of metal. They're put together by a 11th or higher level cleric and used basically like a golem to protect them. Cast a number of spells and you create this creature. If you find one, it could potentially be loyal to you as well, so it won't only serve its original master, which is kind of interesting. And if it attacks, there could be several of them appearing, which that seems odd, right? Because this cleric has not only created one of these little robot things or cyborgs, he's created a bunch of them, apparently. They can learn a few languages, their master's original language, neutral or common, if you want to try and help them. And they get to attack twice with one weapon or once with two weapons, so 2 attacks per round. That's their ability, and they don't really have a normal brain, so most brain type spells will not have any effect on them. Next we have the Spider Hawk, the aberration created by some creative / crazy magic user who's combined the spider and the hawk. This bird-like creature swoops down with its 8 legs. It grabs hold of the head of the opponent and then uses its razor-sharp beak to try and peck you in the face, ripping out your eyes, scarring you and causing you general problems until you're dead. And it won't let go until you're dead or it's dead. So a little bit of a self-destructive creature there. Next we have the Coffin Worm, 3 feet long, super nasty. Looks like some, maggot larva thing that's in there. And feeds on corpses, but will feed on you as well. So if you get near, some tomb or whatever, it will attack you. It'll try and burrow into you, and once it gets inside, it'll come over and burrow up and find your heart, eat your heart, and then you'll die. So totally, totally nasty. And then finally we have the Crystal Golem. Everybody likes adding new types of golems for sure. This one's 10 feet high, looks like it's made out of glass. It has like 80 hit points. Your best attack other than magic weapons would be to cast Shatter, which will cause it 5d10 points of damage to the Crystal Golem. And finally, this is my favorite of the group, is the Molten Elemental. The combination of a fire elemental and an earth elemental. It's normally these guys keep away from each other, but somehow it's been smushed together. And so it's basically like an earth elemental that's made out of lava or is constantly on fire. They can throw balls of molten lava at you. They can stick their hands into the earth and concentrate and turn, heat that up, superheat that, and turn it into a bubbling cauldron of lava, which will regenerate the creature, allowing it to throw more balls of lava at you as well, so obviously creating something that's pretty impassable unless you want to get burnt to death. So those guys are pretty cool. Would be better with artwork for sure, right? We always like to have those pictures. All right, next we have our new player character class. Not sure how much play testing was done here. It sounds cool, like these kind of things. It seems like the teenagers kind of idea, although I think these guys are a little older. But the Dragon Lords. And so you have to be a fighter. And once you get to, I think, 3rd or 4th level, and had an encounter with a dragon, which you survived, hopefully that means you had conversation and no combat. That's the most likely way, right, at that level. You can potentially be accepted into the Order of the Dragon Lords. There's some pretty steep characteristics here. On a 3d6 seems very unlikely, but you must have a 12 strength, 9 constitution, 14 dexterity, 12 intelligence, 12 wisdom, and 11 charisma. If your strength, dexterity, and intelligence are 15 or higher, you'll get your 10% per level bonus. And then you fight as if you get accepted, you become a Dragon Lord. And then this is a pretty good bonus. Your fighting ability goes up instantly. So you will be a Dragon Lord, I think, 1 level lower than your fighter. So if you were a 4th level fighter when this happened, you'll be a 3rd level Dragon Lord. I think I'm reading that correctly. In any event, it says you fight 1 level below your dragon level and then add your fighter level that you were at before you it's sort of like class conversion is what happens. So if you're 4th level when you get converted, it says you'd fight as a 7th level fighter. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you start off as a 1st level Dragon Lord and work your way up. This is not super clearly written. I think that's probably what I would do, right? Like it's almost like you multi-classed over. I'm sorry, dual-classed over as a human and became, from a 4th level fighter, now you're 1st level Dragon Lord. Okay. You can only wear studded or regular leather armor, and you can wear dragon scale armor. More on that in a minute. Your weapon proficiencies are based on being an assassin once you've converted. And you have a chance to join the Dragon Academy. Every time you gain a level, you can try again if you don't get in. Base chance starts at 30. You get some bonuses for high stats, maybe some bonuses for extraordinary interactions with dragons. All right, once you get in, you have to study for a couple months, and every level you have to study for another month with the Dragon Lords to gain your new level. When you get to 4th level, the Order of the Dragon Lords are going to give you dragon scale armor, which gives you armor class at 3, even though it's extremely light. When you get to level 6, they're going to give you a lizard mount. You can only get one every 10 years. You can wear that. And when you get to level 11, they're going to give you a dragon mount. And based on your alignment, you roll to see what type of dragon you might get. Your hit dice are going to be, it doesn't say if you get a D10 like a fighter, or maybe it's a D6 like an assassin. At least I couldn't find that in here at all. But you get to obviously add those on top of your fighter level dice. You get some spells as well. Once you get to 3rd level as a Dragon Lord, you start with 1 spell. Now this actually, I know this is sounding a little overpowered. It's actually, I think, at least in the spells, I really, really like how thoughtful they are, because they have their own, I'll call it spell book or spell list of things they can get, and they're very narrowly tailored to this character class. I know we're going on for a little bit, but I think this is kind of cool, so I'll talk about these. So the 1st level spells you can get: Charm Reptile, Spit Poison, like you, the character, can spit poison like a spitting cobra or something. Reptile Climb, so it's like Spider Climb, but only on vertical surfaces, not, it says vertical, so I'm assuming you can't get on the ceiling. Reptile Friendship, Dragon Scale, which gives you a scale in your hand that you can use as a weapon. Every 2 levels you get an extra scale to throw. The Reptilian Camouflage, Speak with Dragon, Temporary Deafness, and that's cast on a different person, so you make them go deaf. Heighten Your Senses, and Heat Regeneration. It basically turns you into a cold-blooded creature, and if you're near warmth, you can regain some hit points that way. So those are the 1st level spells, and then they have 2nd level spells in here, and then we have to wait till issue 2 to get more spells. Okay, so here's our 2nd level spells. Egg. You create an egg that surrounds you. It says sort of like Lehman's tiny hut. I think it's just giving you a safe place out of the elements to rest, basically. It can take 20 hit points of damage and it'll break. Constrict. Any rope, chain, or other flexible surface can be animated, and then you throw it at a target, hit it, it'll wrap around and constrict them. And same thing, 1d6 first round, 2d6 second round, 3d6, etc., until it's destroyed. Reptilian ESP. Hold Reptile. Taste Air. And that's a really clever one, right? So it's like the snake. When you cast this spell, you can get from the air, you can draw in, potentially, and detect the presence of some other type of creature that's come by nearby. As long as it's something you've encountered before, you can maybe get the taste of it if it's been by recently. Slow Poison. Sticks to snakes. That makes a lot of sense. Or any 1st level druid spell, then cast as a Dragon Lord spell. So there you go. They will get +1 to hit and damage in combat against reptiles because they understand their anatomy so well. They will never knowingly kill a dragon or be part of a party that has done so. So it's an interesting idea. They don't really talk about where this was inspired from, but I like it quite a bit. Not sure if it's overbalanced or not. I think you're not likely to have those stats, right? And they point out one of the things is those stats are really hard to get. So you're not going to have like 15 Dragon Lords running around your campaign. But we all know back in the day, characters tended to have slightly better stats than they really could have gotten with fair rolling, right? Okay, let's take a look at our adventure, The Lair of the Sea Demon. So this great name, right? This adventure is designed for, it says, no higher than 3rd level characters, no more than 10 levels total in the character party. He says he play tested it with 6 1st level characters. 4 of them survived, 2 of them died. So he thinks it's probably balanced right about that level. So I think this is This isn't really a long session. I think if you planned a multi-hour session, this adventure you'd be done with in less than that for one full session. There's no real background given. It's just, I guess, you sort of drop it in. You figure out why you're going looking for this sea demon at a low level. That's all up to you as the DM. It starts off here with the boat. That's going to be your first encounter, and then there are going to be some caves behind that. This guy really went through the monster manual and has all the sort of seafaring races in there, right? And so he's got the Sahagin, he has lizard men, he has the Lacedon, which I think is the aquatic ghoul in here. There's some giant crabs. You've got the Copasynth, which are the aquatic gargoyles. You've got the Colinth, which are the aquatic hobgoblins that are in here. And you have the sea demon, which is a new creature that he has statted up here. The sea demon is a tall humanoid, 7 to 8 feet tall, rotting in skeletal bodies covered with slime, seaweed, and mud, which constantly drips off them in their tattered rags. The foul smell of a sea demon causes anyone within 10-foot radius to fight it at a -1 due to nausea. The caustic breath can cause 1 to 2 points of damage if you get up close enough for melee combat, and there's a 30% chance they'll blind you for 1 to 4 rounds. A 5% chance that it'll last for 1 to 4 turns, 2% chance it'll become permanent. In combat, they have 2 claws, a bite, and a barbed tail, which the tail has a 20% chance of wrapping around your limb or neck. They'll fight with a trident, dagger, net, harpoon, or spear. They can see ultraviolet infrared spectrums up and underwater up to 150 feet away. They can create a wall of ice once a day, cast speed on themselves once a day, and once a turn they can cast silence 5-foot radius, become invisible, fly, detect invisible, cast light or no alignment. Have 30% magic resistance. Take half damage from acid, cold, non-magical blunt weapons, silver weapons, 1/4 damage from non-magical sharp weapons or fire. No effect from type of gas attacks, poison, sleep, hold, death, spell, power, word kill, ESP, web, illusion, polymorph, cloud kill, stinking cloud, or feeble mind. In the event your first level party somehow manages to do this very powerful sea demon in, he will run away and try to escape. You can see the cave connections between number 9 and 10, and then there's an unnumbered cave up there. You have to go underwater to get from the north to the south, and he'll just dive under the water and swim away because he can obviously move much faster than your party going underwater. This doesn't hang together particularly well, I guess, in the sense of I think all these. I love the fact that this guy made me go look up in the monster manual and find out the aquatic version of all these different monsters. But the fact that he decided to use all of them in one cave system so they're right on top of each other, that doesn't to me seem all that realistic. I might play with how we stat that up. Plus, I think, frankly, these monsters are probably a little too powerful for a party of first level characters. But it's a fun one. I like the sea demon creature quite a bit, and it's an example of a nice little adventure you could drop in somewhere just to give somebody something different to do. It's always nice to throw in an aquatic adventure, I think, in your home campaign. Now we have a piece of home-written fiction here. This is a story titled "A Story," and it's a fantasy-based story. And to be continued in future issues. Brief encounters from Metamorphosis Alpha. I really wouldn't spend too much time on this other than the fact that it's Metamorphosis Alpha, and Jim Ward's fantastic original space mutant game doesn't really get a lot of love. So what we have here are just a number of examples, little ideas basically for the referee or dungeon master to use to create encounters on the giant spaceship Warden. And then finally we have this very large section that deals with the play-by-mail campaign that they're very enthusiastic about sharing with you. They call it the Electric Zygote for no clear reason. And they have a list of different games that they're playing. They say that these games are up and going. A D&D campaign, a competition dungeon, Middle Earth campaign, and a variant D&D campaign based on the Robert Howard's Conan stories, The Hyperborean Age. They say Boot Hill, but then down the next paragraph they say Boot Hill is actually a speculative game, not up and going. At least that's the way I read their note. They have a number of potential games if there's interest: Chivalry and Sorcery, RuneQuest, Traveler, Starships, Superhero, Gangster, Tunnels and Trolls, Gamma World, and Metamorphosis Alpha. So if you want to run those or be in those, you send us a note and we'll get back to you on that. And essentially they explain how they're going to run their postal games, a little bit about what postal gaming is, right? But that's back in the day, when you used the mail, you would write down like your move or whatever, and then you would wait, and you send a little money in, and then you would wait and you'd get back a response to whatever action you had declared. Very, very slow, but an interesting, different way of playing. They talk a little bit about their Middle-earth campaign, and they say that one's been going for quite a while, but it will not be running here. There won't be any regular game reports shared here, but there is room if you want to get into that game. There's the Conan game, which they based game, which is D&D-esque, but they say they're making a number of modifications to that. And if they get the game up and going, because it's not ready yet, they would send you a bunch of information in the mail to tell you about how exactly it's going to work. And they have this thing they call their competition dungeon. Each player controls a number of characters, and they try to give everyone, they don't say it's going to be the same characters, but they're going to try and figure out how to make it balanced. And it's a competition, so after so many turns, I think they'll declare a winner. Either so many turns or whoever gets, wins first, something like that. There will be a winner, and I think you're going to get free issues of this magazine, was the theory. And then they have something they call Regatria, which is also a postal game in here, but you can see they devote 4 pages to it, talking about it, giving you a bunch of background for this world. There's basically a world where there are a few different islands. They give you some information about the way the islands are ruled by these different people. There's a supreme dragon lord, and then there are these people called Pony, P-O-N-I, who are like the next layer of that. And then there's some councils in smaller islands that are governed by just a council of elders or people who report to a pony, who reports to the supreme dragon lord, I think. Or maybe he's called the Raponi, Chief King. All right, so there you go. And then we have our back page of the fanzine, which is titled Back Page. And there's some ideas for Space Quest. I encourage you to make contributions, information about advertisements, send in letters. And as they've noted, their price right now is 50 pence, and more to come, I think, in the next issue. So that's our look at the Aerial Servant #1. There's 4 issues of this fanzine we'll cover here over the next month. Hope you guys are enjoying the fanzine series. Hope you enjoyed today's video, and I hope you're subscribed. If you have friends who might enjoy our content, please send them our way, and hopefully they'll be subscribers as well. Have a great Friday. Have a great rest of the week. Until next time, my friends, keep rolling 20s.